The book that I read for my book review is called Death at an Early Age. It looks like this, and it was written by Jonathan Kozol. It's a narrative about his experience in the Boston school system, and he kind of just shares his experiences within the schools. He was kind of a temporary floating teacher. He would go between schools, but most of his experiences that he shares in the book is from one particular school. But he kind of talks about the state that the school system was in on a physical level, which was the state of the school buildings. And he described many different instances where the building was literally crumbling on top of them. He said once a window fell in and almost, crashed down on top of his students. Another time a chalkboard crashed down and almost hit one of his students in the head. And he was teaching, it was overcrowded, so he was teaching in the corner of an auditorium with many other classes going on around him, and his class was just kind of sectioned off with chalkboards. And so they really didn't have the kind of physical means that they needed for a good education. The system itself was also rotten. The vast majority of the higher-ups and the teachers in the school system were white, and the vast majority of the students were black, and there was a lot of abuse, racism, bigotry going on. And it really wasn't brought to light for a long time. And even the people that did know about it and didn't like it didn't really do anything about it. And many people just kind of let it go over their heads and kind of turned the other way, just looked away and pretended it wasn't going on, which allowed it to go on for many years. He talks about their main discipline practice was beating the kids, so they would treat them very horribly, and then if they acted up, which was obviously a natural response, they would take them down into a cellar and beat them. And he shared many instances in which students were actually hospitalized for several days because of this beating, because the people were beating them so hard that they had to be actually put in a hospital. And one quote I want to share from the book says, "The city found it cheaper to whip him than to give him any kind of meaningful aid." And I felt that kind of sums up most of the book, but especially the discipline side of it. They gave very little help or even meaningful education, but when it came to discipline, they decided it was better to beat them than to teach them or help them kind of overcome their discipline issues. And so that was a very destructive aspect. But also there was a lot of emotional abuse. A lot of the teachers were very prejudiced against these children and treated them just very horribly. There were many times when Jonathan Kozol would try to help the students in a certain way, and his mentor teachers would tell him, no, you can't help students like that, children like that, meaning black children. And there was another part where he wrote, "There is too much respect for authority in the Boston schools and too little respect for truth. If there were more of the latter, there would be less need for the former." And so I thought that was also interesting because it was kind of a vicious cycle of higher-ups, telling the people below them what to do and allowing things to just slip by, and nobody below wanted to stand up because that would cost them their job or their beliefs. And so it was just kind of a very enlightening book about what was going on in those schools and kind of his experience there and seeing what was going on. And he also ended up getting fired for sharing good literature with the kids and kind of brought this all to light in a protest. He went and told the parents of the students what was going on, and they started a protest and brought to light a lot of the issues. But anyway, I thought it was a very excellent book, very sad, and I would definitely recommend it for all future teachers and really anyone. Thanks.